Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 7 at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Oaks Friday is the Grade 2 $500,000 Alysheba Stakes. Older horses going a mile and a 16th. Let's take a look at this field. Bill Mott's Olympiad has turned into one of the top 10 handicap horses in the country by virtue of big victories at the fairgrounds in both the Mine Shaft and the New Orleans Classic. But this race is no gimme, Mike. He's facing two winners of the Jockey Club Gold Cup, Max Player and Happy Saver.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how well Olympiad stacks up when these races, these handicap races, start getting tougher, Dan. There's obviously no knocks on what he's done recently, winning 3 races in a row and looking good in all of those starts, even earning triple-digit buyers. But the waters are going to get deeper.
The advantage that he might have, the two advantages, as we take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, is his tactical speed. We expect him to be on or near the lead in a blue bar scenario, favoring horses on or near the early lead, and the distance. A mile and a 16th hits him right between the eyes. Happy Saver and Max Player might want to go a little longer.
They might want to go a little longer. They're also both off of layoffs here, while Olympiad's, just sort of in the midst of regular racing right now. Dan, and you're right, Olympiad, his tactical speed is a big advantage.
Max Player is one of your favorite horses in training, Mike, and he was put in some really tough situations as a 3-year-old, and he still ran creditably. Then in the Suburban, he put it all together. I thought that was a big performance to beat Mystic Guide. He backed it up with a facile victory in the Jockey Club Gold Cup with a great trip. He hammered Happy Saver that day. He just didn't show up in the Breeders' Cup Classic for one reason or another.
Yeah, it's pretty perplexing, that Breeders' Cup. He didn't break well from the gate, and then he never picked his feet up that day. It was a really disappointing performance. He was only 13-1 in that race. Just didn't show up at all that day. His prior 2 efforts were both really good, Dan. And it was also just him showing a new dimension, sort of sitting right up close to the pace, which had not been his running style prior to that. If he can do that kind of stuff going forward, he could have a pretty big year this year. We'll see if he's ready off the layoff. His good race, he'll give Olympiad all he wants in here.
And we'll see if he can show that speed at this shortened distance. Both of the races where he was really tactical at a mile and a quarter. Wayburn is the number 2. Wayburn was a little bit green as a 3-year-old, but he did some good work. He gave Mandaloun some fits in the Pegasus at Monmouth. Now, he returned off the layoff, and he scored going 7 furlongs in the Sir Shackleton. Let's watch that race right now at Gulfstream Park. It was a race that featured a very fast pace. Wayburn was returning off a pretty lengthy layoff, but he is back in good form. He runs them down with a career best 102 Buyer's speed figure. Now, what did we learn from this effort? Did we learn that he is now a more mature individual getting ready to fulfill his potential, or is he maybe a closing one-turn horse in the making?
Yeah, that's the real question, in my opinion, Dan. And I guess we'll find out more going forward because they're going to stretch him right back out here to see what he can do. Personally, I've always thought he was a horse who wants to go shorter distances. I don't like any of his 2-turn races. Not that he hasn't run okay in some of them, but he just doesn't finish at all in his longer races. And I know that he fought back bravely on Mandaloun and the Pegasus. Personally, I didn't think that race was as close as it looks at the end. To me, that was more Mandaloun sort of idling in the stretch there and letting Wayburn hang around. I'm not knocking him. I think he's really good. I just don't like him going long.
Big price expected on the 3, Militarist, and this horse ran pretty well, went 4th in the Grade 1 Clark at Churchill Downs. He was a giant price that day. He didn't break very well. He pulled in the early going, and he did his best to finish 4th. He still was behind Happy Saver. I do think that is his best, but he is going second off a layoff, and he's going to be completely overlooked in the wagering with some tactical speed.
All those things are true. His Clark, he was never a real factor in that race. He did take a little bit of a step forward there, but there was no point in the race where he was involved at 86-1. He's going to be a great price in here. Maybe he gets the right trip, but he's still relatively lightly raced, and only 10 starts, so maybe he'll improve.
The number 4 is Soy Tapatio, who's been tested once in his career in the big cap. He was found wanting at 23-1. He was well beaten. He bounced out of that race in a second level allowance. We'll take a look at that performance right now. It was a short field in Santana going a mile. He finished 3rd in this race. All in all, this was a solid performance, but he's going to have to do a lot better if he's going to beat this field.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that stuff. We'll see, what he can do here in this race as they step him back up in class. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I don't really care about the big cap, Dan. It's just a race that he wasn't ever going to win. I just don't like his other races enough to really get that interested in him in here. I think he's got an awful lot to prove still.
Now the horse of the moment is the number 5 Olympiad. He's won 4 of his last 5, 3 in a row, 2 in graded stakes, and he's shown great tactical speed in just about all of those races. In the New Orleans Classic, he got right up close. He attacked on the turn. He won very easily. Now he's never raced over a wet track. We are expecting a little bit of rain at Churchill Downs this week, but Speightstown is an excellent wet track sire, 21% winners.
Yeah, I don't think I would worry if the track came up wet with this horse. I would just be interested to see what he does here against what could be a little bit of a tougher test for him. I don't have anything negative really to say about him, Dan, but I'll just say I'm not getting all excited that this horse has defeated Cowboy Diplomacy, Silver Prospector, and Proxy so far. I mean, those horses are fine, but he's facing better horses in this race.
This is the test. He might have a pace advantage. He might have an advantage of the distance. He certainly has the recency advantage. Now let's find out how good he is. Folsom, by the way, is lurking under the radar. He was managed beautifully by Brad Cox last year. It seemed like they put him in one good spot after another, and more often than not, he made bank. They tested him in the Pennsylvania Derby, ran just fine against Hot Rod Charlie and Midnight Bourbon, and he made a successful 4-year-old debut in the Oaklawn Mile, a race we'll show you right now. This was a good effort, right, considering he was so far back in the early part of this race. The pace was fast, however, and he came with a good run. He overcame some things in here.
He did. I think he only wound up. I mean, he's not a horse who has a lot of speed anyway, but he wound up so far back early because he got pinched at the start between horses, and he just lost a lot of position there. Then he came with a big wide run on the turn, and then he just sort of gamely outfinished Cezanne, who was a big favorite in there. I mean, Cezanne might be more of a sprinter, but he's still a good horse, and this horse outfinished him at the end. I thought he ran really well last time, Dan, and I liked some of his races as a 3-year-old, in particular the one start here at Churchill Downs. I thought he ran great in the Matt Win.
Happy Saver, the number 7, has only raced 8 times. It's a shame that Todd Pletcher's had to nurse him through myriad physical issues, but he's never been off the board. He is already a Grade 1 winner by virtue of his win in the 2020 Jockey Club Gold Cup, and he ran just fine in the Clark last time out in November. He finished ahead of the ill-fated Midnight Bourbon, who's a very good horse, and he's not a one-run closer. I think if the pace is slow, Irad can get him into the race where he's stalking third, and he might make Olympiad move a little bit earlier than Olympiad wants to.
I agree with you. He has plenty of tactical speed here. I do expect him to be in pretty close to the pace in this race, not far away from Olympiad if he's even behind that horse. So we'll see how Irad decides to play it. Obviously, he's had some issues. It felt like at one point, especially after he won the Jockey Cup Gold Cup as a 3-year-old, felt like he was going to be really good as an older horse, and it just didn't happen for him last year. Only 4 starts. I mean, he ran fine in those races, Dan, but I don't know about you. I didn't see his excuses when Max Player beat him in either of those races in New York last summer. And I didn't see his excuse in the Clark either. He ran fine in there, but he had every chance to win, and he wasn't good enough.
I do have a feeling he's going to fire fresh. Horses like him, you really don't want to waste preps because you never know when he's going to start again. He's brilliant, but he's a little bit brittle. Title Ready is the number 8. Title Ready, I thought, had a little bit of an excuse last time out at Oaklawn Park going a mile. His first start since he was completely overmatched in the Pegasus World Cup. It was not a strong allowance field he was in against, but he faced a horse that pretty much dominated the race on the lead, and he was in behind horses a lot of the way.
Yeah, he caught a lot of traffic in the stretch of that race. I mean, he never, to me anyway, when I watched it back, he never really got stopped in there, but he wasn't clear in there to really sort of lengthen his stride. So maybe it cost him. His last 3 or 4 races, Dan, aren't going to get it done in here. He's going to have to find a way to get back to one of his very best races if he's going to beat this field.
If I thought the pace was going to be a little faster, I would have given him a puncher's chance and maybe tried to use him underneath, but I just think the pace is going to be moderate in here, and that could work against him. Before we get to our top picks, please click subscribe on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. You'll have instant access to all of DRF TV's offerings. Top pick time for the Alysheba. $500,000 is the purse. Olympiad just is the horse to beat because, again, he has the recency edge. He has perhaps the pace edge. And I do think a mile and a 16th is what he wants. We're going to find out a lot about this horse.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good test for him. I took him on top 2, Dan, for all the reasons that you mentioned there. We'll see how the odds play out come post time, because if Max Player drifts off his morning line, I'm going to be very tempted to try to beat Olympiad with him.
Mike's going 5-1-7-6. I wonder if Folsom is coming into his own now as a 4-year-old, and I think he's going to come with a late run in here, but I do have Olympiad on top as well. 5-6-7-2 for me, and the Alysheba on Oaks Friday at Churchill. Good luck.